Hello, everyone. This is the Crimsoncure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hey, Edward. Hey, Cynical. How you doing today? How's everybody doing on this Friday? I know most people, if you worked, this is probably the start of your weekend, yada, 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 TGIF, and all of that good stuff. So hopefully everybody's okay. I'm going to give people a few more moments to get in, and I'm going to finish posting. Hey, Ethos, a snow day. Hey, D-Remedy. It ain't really snowing here. It's been kind of frosting. So it'll do like a light drizzle of snow, and then that'll frost over, and then, it'll thaw out during the day, and it's like it never happened. And then like overnight, it'll do it again or whatever. So we're not really snowing. It might snow. Hey, Taylor, it might snow in Chicago, but Chicago doesn't really get into a deep freeze until January through March, and maybe some portion of April. But January through March, we usually get into a deep freeze. If there are any blizzards to be had, that is when we have them. So actually our Decembers and stuff typically mild, and as far as winters go, unless we just end up with a blizzard of some sort unexpectedly. The last really bad blizzard we had was the blizzard 2011, where it shut the city down for like a week. The city was shut down for about a week. People were stuck on Lakeshore Drive. They were stuck. Like they could not get out. The snow was coming down so fast and so thick that even while driving, you became stuck in it. And like a couple of people died because they were stuck on Lakeshore Drive in their cars and couldn't keep them running the whole time for the heat. And no one could get to them. And some of the people who were already compromised passed away. So it was a pretty bad. We knew it was bad when they started sending snow trucks to side streets, because in Chicago you're on your own on the side street. They'll clear the way on the main thoroughways. Why would it do that? Why does it do that sometimes? Like, why? Just whatever does that. Like, it's so weird. But anyway. Okay, I think I'm done posting. Same in Cleveland. Yeah, Kendall, it was more snow on Halloween than it is right now. I think some people might be dreaming of a white Christmas. They might be dreaming of that. But I'm not going to lie. Like the snow with the Christmas ornaments, it is pretty. That is pretty. I'm not going to lie. The snow with the Christmas ornaments is actually really, really pretty. And the lights and the whole big thing. I'm still kind of a kid at heart. So I like looking at the lights. And hey, Father's Time. Hey, Evil Sosa, thank you so much. Says salute to you, Lioness. You're looking cool as a cucumber today. Let's get it. Yeah, I got my little green on. I never wear the shirt really anywhere. And I bought it. And I'm like, ooh, this will look cute with my skinny jeans. Do I wear them with my skinny jeans? No, ma'am. No, I do not. It just sit in the closet, hanging up. I'm like, okay. I mean, I share the sentiment, Mr. Hyde, but the lights and the decorations are pretty. They are pretty. Like, I see why people want to look at them, because the lights and the tree and the ribbons and the garland and the light, it's all pretty. It's all really pretty. Yeah. You used to have to go to Oak Park to see the lights. Yeah, I got my military green on today, Father Sam. That when I put it on, I was like, wait a minute, I look military. Okay, so you decorated your house, Brenda? See, I want lights, but I don't want Christmas lights. I just like light stuff. I'm weird. I just like lighting. I like pretty little string lights, and I like lights around the picture and lights. Run your light bill up with all them lights. All them lights on. Turn them lights out. They blinking and study. You know, I study think somebody is coming through. Like, why is the lights blinking? Because you got lights on and they blinking. Hey, Dr. Michelle, because you got lights on. That's why. You forgot you had lights on. They in the living room just blinking away. I'm studying. Somebody in there. No, idiot. Nobody's in there but the stuff you put in there. But I don't have like lights in my house, like any decorations or anything, because I don't celebrate it. I'm just saying that the decorations themselves are pretty. They're very pretty decorations. I've always been enchanted by Christmas decorations since I was a little kid. I mean, I guess when you're a little kid, you're expected to do that, though. Because I sit in front of the tree and sing the little songs and stuff like that. I was a dork when I was little. You ever think back on the stuff you did as a kid? Like, I was such a dork. Like, you know what I'm saying? You just doing little kid stuff. Little kids is lame. Little kids are so lame. They precious, but they lame, po things. I got you gonna say I got the Christmas spirit. I don't want that spirit. I don't know what he about. I don't know what he be doing. Time out. I don't need him. I don't know what he be doing. Is that them the same spirits that was dealing with Ebenezer Scrooge? There wasn't no cute spirits. It wasn't nothing cute about the spirits. I don't want that kind of Christmas spirit. No, you show up, you gonna get shot. You show up at the doorway in my house, that's gonna be problematic for him. Talking about I got something to show you. I got something to show you too. How dare you? How dare you breaking into my home? I got something to show you too, big boy. Come on. Oh, we gonna fight today. We're gonna be in a Christmas entanglement. All right. Or a holiday entanglement. All right, so let me go ahead and get right on into the topic. All right, so you all see the title, the Gynocratic Manifesto. And today we are going to talk about the Combahee River Collection. The other day when I was doing the live stream, I asked you all, if you had ever heard of that. Some of you had, some of you had not. And the reason why I was going to go over this, and I'm kind of going to go over this in my own way, was because of the article that I had read in the last live stream. And the author of that article actually referenced the River Collective as sort of almost a spiritual mantle that had been passed to her as a Black woman. And so I wanted to go into it. Thank you, Mr. Research, that we mature Black men adore your intellect. Thank you so much. So just to refresh you guys' memories, the article that I first referred to was Black Women Save the Democrats, Don't Make Us Do It Again. And I'm not going to share screen at this exact moment, but I am going to read the portion of that article once again, just to refresh your memory, so that you can kind of understand why we're going to read the Combahee River Collective statement today. And so I just want to sort of jog your memory. So the portion of the article that mentions it says, 43 years ago, the Combahee River Collective, a Black lesbian feminist organization composed of members from the nation's various social movements of the time. So we have a conglomeration, sort of a gumbo of the movements of that time: women's rights, civil rights, the Black Panthers, etc., released their belief statement. Our politics initially sprang from the shared belief that Black women are inherently valuable. It read that our liberation is a necessity, not as an adjunct to someone else's, because of our need as human persons for autonomy. We realize that the only people who care enough about us to work consistently for our liberation are us. Our politics evolve from a healthy love for ourselves, our sisters, and our community, which allows us to continue our struggle and work. Just 12 years after the passage of Voting Rights Act, this collective of Black women understood the necessity of unifying through a shared anti-racist and anti-sexist framework. As their descendants, it's our responsibility to embrace and share the teachings of our foremothers to improve the social conditions in our communities. Okay, so the author of this article, the portion that I just read, was Taylor Crumpton, a Black woman. And so today we are going to look at the Combahee River Collection statement. And we are going to sort of go over it. Just to let you guys know, I'm not going to come at this from like a purely academic stance, all right? This is going to be more of a sort of a look at the spirit of this, because the Combahee River Collection as an organization no longer exists. Okay, I believe they disbanded around 1980, early 80s. So they had about a good decade, all right, or so. And it was sort of a hodgepodge of ideas that came together, okay? And sort of the main hitch to this was that these were not only Black feminists, they identified themselves as part of the alphabet community, all right? And so, which probably that strong identification with the alphabet community is probably the thing that did not allow them to really hit mainstream as an organization. However, regardless of the fact that the organization itself does not exist anymore, the ideas have been strongly implanted and they persist throughout the collective of what Black women think and feel and how they interact with the community and all of that. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and share the screen. We're going to read it out. It's not long, but it's not short. So just to let you know. So this statement was released in 1977, okay, a year before yours truly graced this planet with her energy. So we're just going to read it. Say, we are a collective of Black feminists who have been meeting together since 1974. During that time, we have been involved in a process of defining and clarifying our politics, while at the same time doing political work within our own group and in coalition with other progressive organizations and movements. The most general statement of our politics at the present time would be that we are actively committed to struggling against racial, sexual, heterosexual, and class oppression, and see as our particular task the development of integrated analysis and practice based upon the fact that the major systems of oppression are interlocking. The synthesis of these oppressions creates the conditions of our lives. As Black women, we see Black feminism as the logical political movement to combat the manifold and simultaneous oppressions that all women of color face. So, let me just read this next little snippet and then I'll give you a little bit of commentary. We will discuss 4 major topics in the paper that follows. Number 1, the genesis of contemporary Black feminism. Number 2, what we believe, i.e. the specific province of our politics. Number 3, the problems in organizing Black feminists, including a brief her story, that's so corny, of our collective. And number 4, Black feminist issues and practice. So before we get into those 4 major sections of this statement, I just want to point out something. We're going to stop sharing for just a real quick. Well, I guess I'll have to stop sharing for a moment. Okay. This group does not exist. And they were probably a little bit before their time. All right. And the reason why I say that is because even though at that time, I would imagine their strong identification again as part of the alphabet community probably did not allow them to reach the level of prominence as an organization that they were hoping to reach. Okay? Because we're talking about the 70s here, and people just weren't as accepting of that as a lifestyle that should have been in the mainstream. Were people doing it? Yes. Do people know about it? Yes. But it was kind of underground. All right? So you did not openly identify with that alternative lifestyle unless you were a part of it. And sometimes even when you were a part of it, you didn't openly identify with it. So the open identification with that is probably what made a lot of Black women be like, I agree, but I don't agree with that part. However, as I get into this, you'll understand the spirit of this exists and it persists also, because even though, how should I put this? No one today would say that they were a part of the Combahee River Collective, right? Because the organization does not exist. Just like if you ask a lot of Black women, probably 7 out of 10 of them will say that they are not feminists if you ask them if they were feminists or not. I have heard some of the most gynocratic thinking Black women say definitely they are not feminists, and will actually identify feminism with palm-colored women, okay? And say, no, we're not feminists because that is something for them. However, they will maintain all the ideals of feminism. Similarly, while they may not say, oh, well, I'm part of the alphabet community, they will advocate strongly for the alphabet community because it is Black women more so than Black men, unless the men are part of that community, that advocate strongly for them for tea parties and all of the rest of it, because Black women support any tea party that they like. Just look at T.S. Madison. That's all you got to do. And they will advocate for his right to be T.S. Madison, right? And they'll frequent any show or any, thing he's doing on social media or anything like that. Has a strong social media following, right? Most of which are either Black women, whether they identify within the alphabet community or not, and men who identify as part of the alphabet community, okay? Because I don't see straight men openly. There might be a very small number, okay? And then that's like questionable. Their orientation would be questionable at that point. So I just wanted to sort of point out that even though a lot of Black women won't say it, their actions prove what they're about, what they support. Because this said that they were combating not only racial, sexual, and class oppression, but heterosexual oppression. And we understand that the feminist ideals come with the concept of intersectionality, right? And this is where the advocacy for alternative lifestyle or the alphabet community actually comes from. All right. It's being used as a tool against to combat and subvert any sort of Black male authority that there could ever possibly be, even though Black men in this country have never had a patriarchy, right? Our community has never really been patriarchal. It's been more patriarchal in the past than now, but not a true patriarchy in the sense that feminists struggle against patriarchy and it's so oppressive and all of that. So let me get back to the, I'm going to get back to the article. So number one, the genesis of contemporary Black feminism. Before looking at the recent development of Black feminism, we would like to affirm that we find our origins in the historical reality of Afro-American women's continuous life and death struggle for survival and liberation. Black women's extremely negative relationship to the American political system, a system of palm-colored male rule, has always been determined by our membership in two oppressed racial and sexual castes. So again, we hear the concept of intersectionality. She's a double minority. She's not only Black, but she's a woman. As Angela Davis points out in Reflections on the Black woman's role in the community of slaves, Black women have always embodied, if only in their physical manifestation, an adversary stance to palm-colored male rule and have actively resisted its inroads upon them and their communities in both dramatic and subtle ways. Now that right there is a lie. Black women have embodied an adversary stance and actively resisted its inroad? No. By the mere adaptation and adoptation of feminism in any of its forms actually aids and abets palm-colored systemic supremacy. Okay? It actually aids and abets it. Because what we have to understand is feminism, and by extension, the gynocracy, is a child. It is an offshoot of palm-colored supremacy. All right? And I need that to be understood by everyone. All right? I need everyone to understand that correlation. All right? Thank you, Oakland Warriors, for that. All right. So that's a lie. That's the first lie that we've come across. There have always been Black women activists, some known like Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frances E. W. Harper, Ida B. Wells, Barnett, and Mary Church Terrell, and thousands upon thousands unknown who have had a shared awareness of how their sexual identity combined with their racial identity to make their whole life situation and the focus of their political struggles unique. Contemporary Black feminism is the outgrowth of countless generations of personal sacrifice, militancy, and work by our mothers and sisters. All right. Again, we have to readdress that. It's not the contemporary Black feminism. We just said where it comes from. A Black feminist presence has evolved most obviously in connection with the second wave of the American women's movement beginning in the late 60s. So remember way back when I was talking about the convergence of the 60s, the civil rights movement, second wave feminism, and how Gen X girls got messed up because boomer women started doing this crap. Okay, this is what they're referring to. All right. This is what they're referring to. This is why I call it a Gynocratic manifesto. Because you'll hear a lot of Black women not, quote unquote, know what the gynocracy is, but then profess it. So they do know what it is. Even if they don't have that particular word as part of their lexicon, they know what it is. Because when you explain it, they get quiet. Because they know that that's what they've been believing and feeling and thinking and acting upon the whole entire time, right? Okay. Black, other third world, and working women have been involved in the feminist movement from its start, but both outside reactionary forces and racism and elitism within the movement itself have served to obscure our participation. In 1973, Black feminists, primarily located in New York, felt the necessity of forming a separate Black feminist group. This became the National Black Feminist Organization. Okay, so another thing I want to point out right here is that they are against elitism. Remember, let me come back to you guys for 1 second. They are against elitism, okay? So what I want to, the dot I need to connect for you guys is, remember the other day when I was talking about Maxine Waters and her reaching out and the nature of that reach out to Megan Thee Stallion? Remember when I was talking about that? And hit the cash app. I should not have to ask. I really should not at this stage in the game. We're not doing that today. But anyway, you guys remember when I was talking about Maxine Waters and Megan Thee Stallion and that little connection that they made? Okay. So when I was saying that the gynocracy has no class, that is actually what I meant. They seek to destroy the boundaries of class so that there's no such thing as elitism. There's no such thing as this Black woman is in this class and this Black woman is in that class, despite their socioeconomic standing. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about their education or lack thereof. All of them can identify with each other. Thank you, Feminist Tears. All of them can identify and resonate with each other across class. That was the whole point of me bringing that up. And we understand, if you go back, they are against elitism. They're against classism. They don't like classes. But most modern, if not all modern civilizations, unless they are socialist, are classist. The rich are up here, the poor are down here, and then there are people in the middle, right? So we do have classes, and classes exist in America also. It's just not strictly enforced like the old monarchies and things of that nature, where if you were of a certain class, you never mixed with the peasants. You never did it. You were never seen where the non-royals were. If you were royal and of royal blood and lineage, you could not be seen. You could not intermingle. You could not intermarry. You could not even have friends with people who were not within your class also. Thank you, We Kill Dragons. Okay. All right, let's go back. Black feminist politics also have an obvious connection to movements for Black liberation, particularly those in the 60s and 70s. Many of us were active in those movements, and all of our lives were greatly affected and changed by their ideologies, goals, and tactics used to achieve their goals. It was our experience and disillusionment within these liberation movements, as well as experience on the periphery of the white male left, that led to the need to develop a politics that was anti-racist, unlike those of palm-colored women, and anti-sexist, unlike those of Black and palm-colored men. So they lump in Black men with palm-colored men. All right. Thank you, BK Bourne, for the Cash App. See how they lump in Black men with palm-colored men and saying that they're sexist. So they see Black men as a form of an oppressive group also, just automatically. There is also undeniably a personal genesis for Black feminism. That is a political realization that comes from the seemingly personal experiences of individual Black women's lives. Black feminists and many more Black women who do not define themselves as feminists have all experienced sexual oppression as a constant factor in our day-to-day existence. As children, we realize we are different from boys and that we are treated differently. For example, we are told in the same breath to be quiet, both for the sake of being ladylike and to make us less objectionable in the eyes of palm-colored people. As we grew older, we became aware of the threat of physical and sexual abuse by men. However, we had no way of conceptualizing what was so apparent to us, what we knew was really happening. So here in that little sentence, we understand now why in 2020, most Black women fight against the concept of being ladylike and being and conforming to what would be traditional concepts of what being ladylike and feminine actually are. See, they've been struggling against it because they've seen it as a form of oppression. Having to be feminine in the first place is oppressive to them. Okay? All right. Black feminists often talk about their feelings of craziness before becoming conscious of the concepts of sexual politics, patriarchal rule, and most importantly, feminism, the political analysis and practice that we women use to struggle against our oppression, which is interesting because Black women have never experienced patriarchal rule by Black men on a collective basis. In America, Black men have never had a patriarchal rule as part of our culture, because during slavery, we as a group of people were deconstructed and then reconstructed as a matriarchy, not a patriarchy. So our customs and the things that we do culturally are based in being our matriarchal, not patriarchal. Big Mama was the ruler, not Big Daddy. Now, am I saying that there were no patriarchal families? No, I'm not saying that. Of course there were. However, Big Mama was the ruler for most of us. The women ruled the family, especially families that were predominantly female. The women ruled it. The men looked to the women for the leadership. All right, so we have had a matriarchal. We have been truly set up like a hyena clan. It operates like a hyena clan. That's why we say it's hyenas. So anyway, the fact that racial politics and indeed racism are pervasive factors in our lives did not allow us, and still does not allow, most Black women to look more deeply into our own experiences, and from that sharing and growing consciousness to build a politics that will change our lives and inevitably end our oppression. Our development must also be tied to the contemporary economic and political position of Black people. The post-World War II generation of Black youth was the first to be able to minimally partake of certain educational and employment options previously closed completely to Black people. Although our economic position is still at the very bottom of the American capitalistic economy, a handful of us have been able to gain certain tools as a result of tokenism in education and employment, which potentially enable us to more effectively fight our oppression. Notice that the entire thing, they are separating themselves from the collective of Black people, while at the same time being part and parcel of Black liberation movements. This speaks back to that post that the guy Torrance, what was his name? Torrance Walker, or whatever his name was, who said, how can you be for Black people and hate Black men? And the overwhelming response from a lot of Black women was, yeah, we can hate you guys and be pro-Black. We can't stand Black men, but we are pro-Black, which is ridiculous. All right. Thank you for the Cash App. A combined anti-racist and anti-sexist position drew us together initially, and as we developed politically, we addressed ourselves to heterosexism and economic oppression under capitalism. All right, so they're struggling again against heterosexual orientation. All right. Is it a wonder now in 2020 that there are more alternative lifestyle leading Black women than there have ever been, especially openly? Most of them will identify as bi or bi-curious at least. Others identify straight up as the L word, straight up. All right. What we believe, above all else, our politics initially sprang from the shared belief that Black women are inherently valuable, that our liberation is a necessity, not as an adjunct to someone else's, because of our need as human persons for autonomy. This may seem so obvious as to sound simplistic, but it is apparent that no other ostensibly progressive movement has ever considered our specific oppression as a priority or worked seriously for the ending of that oppression. Merely naming the pejorative stereotypes attributed to Black women, i.e. mammy, matriarch, sapphire, whore, or bulldagger. Interesting that they put matriarch as a pejorative. Let alone cataloging the cruel, often murderous treatment we receive, indicates how little value has been placed upon our lives during 4 centuries of bondage in the Western Hemisphere. And somehow they equate Black men to that. They actually equate Black men to that. They note 4 centuries of bondage, which would be slavery, and then they actually lump Black men, as you'll see later on, into that oppressive framework. We realize that the only people who care enough about us to work consistently for our liberation is us. Our politics evolve from a healthy love for ourselves, our sisters, our community, which allows us to continue and struggle our work. Thank you, Big Cheese. This focusing upon our own oppression is embodied in the concept of identity politics. We believe that the most profound and potentially most radical politics come directly out of our own identity, as opposed to working to end someone else's oppression. So again, they are separating themselves from the rest of the Black community. Black men and children They're separate from them. In the case of Black women, this is a particularly repugnant, dangerous, threatening, and therefore revolutionary concept because it is obvious from looking at all the political movements that have preceded us that anyone is more worthy of liberation than ourselves. We reject pedestals, queenhood. No, you don't. Black women like being called queens. Queenhood and walking 10 paces behind. To be recognized as human, levelly human is enough. No, it is not, because you want supremacy. We believe that sexual politics under patriarchy is as pervasive in Black women's lives as the politics of class and race. We also often find it difficult to separate race from class, from sex oppression, because in our lives they are experienced simultaneously. We know that there is a such thing as racial sexual oppression, which is neither solely racial nor solely sexual. The history of the R word of Black women by palm-colored men as a weapon of political repression. Although we are feminists and L words, we feel solidarity with progressive Black men and do not advocate the fractionalization that palm-colored women who are separatists demand. But you are practicing a form of separatism and fractionalization. By separating yourself out from the group of Black people, what that separation, that's a separatist movement. Because what they're saying is that the liberation of Black people doesn't translate into the liberation of Black women. And we saw that, we actually heard them repeat that. We actually heard them repeat that, the Queen's cocktails with Queens. Remember when they were interviewing with Ice Cube, and they were like, well, we don't see anything with Black women specifically. This is how they do it. See, the spirit of it exists still strongly. It's not weak, it's strong. All right. So you guys remember when they said that? Oh, you don't have anything in there for Black women. And when he said, well, it's Black people, so women are included because I include Black women in the Black community. Black women are a part of the Black community. They're Black. And they, all of them were like a resounding no. Because he asked straight up, he said, when we talk about Black people, we automatically are talking about Black women, right? And they said no. Okay. So these ideas are not just old ideas. They are current and persistent. All right. And let's see. Our situation as Black people necessitates that we have solidarity around the fact of race, which palm-colored women, of course, do not need to have with palm-colored men unless it is their negative solidarity as oppressors. We struggle together with Black men against racism, and we also struggle with Black men about sexism. So this is how they were able to justify saying that we hate Black men and we're also pro-Black. Because we'll quote unquote join together with you when we fight against racism, but we'll fight you about sexism. Because somehow, some way, they've conflated Black men being men to palm-colored patriarchy and oppression. We realize that the liberation of all oppressed people necessitates the destruction of the political, economic systems of capitalism and imperialism, as well as patriarchy. We are socialists. Okay, so there it is. It's Marxist, right? It's Marxism. We are socialists because we believe that work must be organized for the collective benefit of those who do the work and create the products, and not for the profit of the bosses. Material resources must be equally distributed among those who create these resources. We are not convinced, however, that a socialist revolution that is not also feminist and anti-racist will guarantee our liberation. We have arrived at the necessity for developing an understanding of class relationship that takes into account the specific class position of Black women, who are generally marginal in the labor force. While at this particular time, some of us are temporarily viewed as double desirable tokens at white, colored, and professional levels. Excuse me. Thank you. Excuse me, you guys. We need to articulate the real class situation of persons who are not merely racist, raceless, sexless workers, but for whom racial and sexual oppression are significant determinants in their working and economic lives. Although we are in essential agreement with Marx's theory, there we go, as it applies to the very specific economic relationships he analyzed, we know that his analysis must be extended further in order for us to understand our specific economic situation as Black women. And their economic situation would be separate from the economic situation of Black men, because they are advocating, listen. They are advocating for their own mobility, separate from the mobility of Black men. Do we see how this is lined up throughout the years? Because see, back in the 70s, that statement might have been true, that Black women were sort of marginalized in the workforce and stuff like that. But in 2020, that's not true. That is not true at all. Not at all. Yet, the concepts of this type of struggle still exist, though, even though the conditions have changed. The conditions of 2020 for Black women in the in the workforce and the educational field have dramatically changed from the 70s. Yet they still have this same struggle with the same intensity, because it wasn't a struggle about the workforce or school. Those are just vehicles to supply the mobility that they want in society that is separate from Black male mobility, because they don't want Black men to have mobility as a collective in the society, because that comes with power. And they don't want Black men to have power because they associate that with, quote unquote, the patriarchy. So when you hear a lot of Black women talking about they want Black men to be leaders in the community, that is a lie. That is a gaslight. Because collectively, for the past 50 years, they've been working against that very thing. Okay? They've been working against Black male collective mobility. They didn't want the collective of Black men to gain any power in the society. But today they'll throw it up. Oh, Black men don't run any industries and they don't run anything and they're dominated. But half the domination comes from you, because you made sure to step over him and step on his head so that you could jump in front to get whatever mobility was going to be allotted to Black people. You pushed for it past your men. You demonized them. You threw them under the bus. You equated them with palm-colored men and the oppression of slavery. You equated your men with that. But Black men didn't enslave Black women. You never wanted Black men to be men because masculinity has an inherent authority. By them lobbying for the mobility, they actually was looking to take that authority away from the men and give it to themselves, which was successful. They were successful in doing that. They actually did it. And now they want to complain about how Black men don't have mobility and they don't have power. Well, we could do it. Why come you couldn't do it? Because you stepped on my neck to do it. That's why. That's why we're topsy-turvy. There would be a higher percentage of these high-value men you want had your foremothers not stepped on their necks, so that they could actually have progressed in that area now. But you didn't want that because you didn't want Black men to have any power. You certainly didn't want them to have any over you. You wanted the power. So now wield it. You're the high value man you want. Do you understand that? So you calling into that show trying to get a high value man. You are the high value man. You're the high value man. You're making 6 figures. You've dedicated your life to your profession and your career and your school and your this and your that, and you're lonely and you're looking for a family. You're the high value man. Marry yourself. A political contribution which we feel we have already made is the expansion of the feminist principle that the personal is political. In our consciousness raising sessions, for example, we have in many ways gone beyond palm-colored women's revelations because we are dealing with the implication of race and class as well as sex. Even our Black women's style of talking and testifying about what we have experienced has a resonance that is both cultural and political. We have spent a great deal of energy delving into the cultural and experiential nature of our oppression out of necessity because none of these matters has ever been looked at before. No one before has ever examined the multi-layered texture of Black women's lives. An example of this kind of revelation conceptualization occurred at a meeting as we discussed the ways in which our early intellectual interests had been attacked by our peers, particularly Black men, again demonizing Black men. We discovered that all of us, because we were smart, had also been considered ugly or smart ugly. Smart ugly crystallized the way in which most of us have been forced to develop our intellects at great cost to our social lives. The sanctions in the Black and palm-colored communities against Black women thinkers is comparatively much higher than for palm-colored women, particularly ones from the educated middle and upper classes. That's why they don't like class. As we have already stated, we reject the stance of L-word separatism because it is not a viable political analysis or strategy for us. It leaves out far too much and far too many people, particularly Black men, women, and children. So here's the gaslight. Trying to act like this concept is supposed to include all Black people when clearly it does not. We have a great deal of criticism and loathing for what men have been socialized to be in this society, what they support, how they act, and how they oppress. So they are actually equating, let me finish, what they support, how they act, and how they oppress. But we do not have the misguided notion that it is their maleness per se, their biological maleness that makes them what they are. As Black women, we find any type of biological determinism a particularly dangerous and reactionary basis upon which to build a politic. We must also question whether L-word separatism is an adequate and progressive political analysis and strategy, even for those who practice it, since it so completely denies any but the sexual sources of women's oppression, negating the fact of class and race. So what they're saying here is that, oh, we just don't like the way men are socialized, but we don't have any problem with men being men. The gaslight here is that the socialization of men in the society to be patriarchal is based on their biology. Biology, culture, environment. Biology is first. It informs the culture. So based upon male biology, how he is constructed physiologically and psychologically and physically as a male, will determine the culture that is informed by him being male. Hence, patriarchal culture. Because it is within him as a man to try to lead, to take the forefront, to get in front. That's who he is. That's what he is. And leadership automatically implies that there are subordinates. Because leaders don't lead leaders. The chiefs lead the Indians. You understand? So leadership automatically implies that there is a subordinate, someone needing to be led. You don't just lead nothing. You get out in front and be a leader so that you can lead a group, because the group needs organization and they need to be led. So his biology as a male informs his patriarchal culture. This is why patriarchies have always been the norm, because women by nature have always needed to be led and protected, as well as children. We've always needed protection and provision, much of which we could not do for ourselves, especially in times past. So women collectively relied on the collective of men to provide these things. Along with that provision comes a leadership and authoritative role, because I cannot provide, protect, and do all this stuff for things I don't influence or control. If I'm taking responsibility for it, then I have to be able to influence what happens, or else I can't take responsibility for it. That's like me bearing all the responsibility for what happens with NASA's programs, but I don't know nothing about NASA's programs and I don't influence it and I don't have any say. So how can I be responsible for the outcomes if I don't have any say on the influence of what those outcomes are? So what they purposely miss and skip over is that it's not just, patriarchy is not just a socialization that doesn't have any tie to male biology. It is intrinsic to male biology. That's why the order is what it is. Because when the economy broke down this year because of that, what did women do? When that safety net, when that precarious structure of society that allows women to tell men that they don't need them actually fail, the women looked to who? They started calling the men that they knew. And I didn't see any group of women innovate any enterprising or industry during this. I saw men doing that. I saw women go to OnlyFans and try to be sugar babies all of a sudden. Anyway. Problems in organizing Black feminists. During our years together as a Black feminist collective, we have experienced success and defeat, joy and pain, victory and failure. We have found that it is very difficult to organize around Black feminist issues, difficult even to announce in certain contexts that we are Black feminists. We have tried to think about the reasons for our difficulties, particularly since the Palm Color Women's movement continues to be strong and to grow in many directions. In this section, we will discuss some of the general reasons for the organizing problems we face, and also talk specifically about the stages in organizing our own collective. I'm going to skip that, skip a little bit. The psychological toll of being a Black woman and the difficulties this presents in reaching political consciousness and doing political work can never be underestimated. There is a very low value placed upon Black women's psyches in this society, which is both racist and sexist. As an early group member once said, we are all damaged people merely by virtue of being Black women. We are dispossessed psychologically and on every other level, and yet we feel the necessity to struggle to change the condition of all Black women. In a black feminist search for sisterhood, Michelle Wallace arrives at this conclusion. We exist as women who are black, who are feminists, each stranded for the moment, working independently because there is not yet an environment in this society remotely congenial to our struggle. Because being on the bottom, we would have to do what no one else has done. We would have to fight the world. Wallace is pessimistic but realistic in her assessment of black feminist position, particularly in her allusion to the nearly classic isolation most of us face. We might use our position at the bottom, however, to make a clear leap into revolutionary action. If black women were free, it would mean that everyone else would have to be free, since our freedom would necessitate the destruction of all the systems of oppression. So here we have this complex, this superwoman complex is what I call it. Thank you, Shango, for the cash out. And I just made that up. This is a superwoman complex that a lot of black women actually carry, that they are, thank you, CP, that they are somehow this revolutionary group that fights the world. This is where black girl magic comes from. This is where stuff like Black Girls Rock come from. This is where those concepts come from, because there is this superwoman, Wonder Woman complex going on. That we are the Amazonian leaders, and we have to take the mantle up, and we have to don our armor and sword and shield and go out on the battlefield, because no one else will go out on the battlefield, and no one else has the intestinal fortitude to do anything about any of this oppression, even our own men, and we have to fight them, you know what I'm saying, in order to fight all the oppression. And this is where Black Girl Magic and Black Girls Rock comes from. This is where we're strong and independent comes from. This is we don't need any men. That's where it comes from. See, black women have already gone MGTOW. They did that. This is MGTOW. Black women need to go their own way. They've been gone their own way. And being the L word was a logical deduction for that, because if you don't need men, then where you gonna go? All I heard was a bunch of chicks talking about they don't want no masculine energy around. And I ain't down with that. We can't have no men around. What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? So we gonna keep on coming to these meetings and it ain't no men over here? Girl, bye. Anyway. Feminism is nevertheless very threatening to the majority of black people because it calls into question some of the most basic assumptions about our existence, i.e. that sex should be a determinant of power relationships. Here's the way male and female roles were defined in a black nationalist pamphlet from the early 70s. We understand that it is and has been traditional that the man is the head of the house. He is the leader of the house/nation because his knowledge of the world is broader, his awareness is greater, his understanding is fuller, and his application of this information is wiser. After all, it is only reasonable that the man be the head of the house because he is able to defend and protect the development of his home. Did I not just say his biology? Women cannot do the same things as men. They are made by nature to function differently. Equality of men and women is something that cannot happen even in the abstract world. Men are not equal even to other men, i.e. ability, experience, or even understanding. The value of men and women can be seen as in the value of gold and silver. They are not equal, but both have great value. We must realize that men and women are a complement to each other because there is no house or family without a man and his wife. Both are essential to the development of any life. Now, I actually thought that was a rather beautiful explanation of the male-female dynamic. And it even gave a reason, because biology informs the culture. which then informs and shapes the environment in which we live. And at no point did it dehumanize, degrade, or demean women. It didn't say men are superior and women are stupid. And we gotta lead y'all because y'all stupid and y'all not worth nothing. It never said that. It actually said the value is like gold and silver. Both would be seen as a valuable thing. And when you look at it, both gold and silver are considered precious metals. They're considered valuable precious metals. You would not be reticent to accept a pure silver ring, just like you would accept a gold one. Thank you, Ronan, for the cash app. All right, so the material condition. So basically, they are against this concept of men leading the household. So before I go on, I am going to make a tie together for you guys. When these women call into Mr. Samuel's show, I want you to notice something. They want high value men to marry them. But do y'all want to know something that they never talk about even when he asks why you want to be married like that and, all of that? Do you want to know what they never really say? Put a 1 in the chat if you want to know what you don't hear them say, what they don't talk about. All this talk about marriage and relationships and high value men, there's something very interesting missing from this conversation. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to know what that is. The thing that is missing from the conversation is love. Love. They never say, I want to get married because I want to get into a relationship and treat a man. I want love, and I want to love him. I want to love him. I want to be a good wife. I want a family, and I want all of that. I want to care for. I want a man that I can care for, that I can love, that I can support, that I can be a reflection of. I want to be a good wife. I want to get married because I want to be a wife. I want to be a good wife to a good man. That's what they don't say. In all them conversations and all of them call-ins and all of them shows and hours upon hours upon hours worth of live stream, I don't think I have ever heard any of them women or any significant portion of them actually say that I want a man so that I can take care of him. And I don't mean financially take care of him. I mean take care of him the way a feminine woman would take care of a man. It's all about class, something that they've struggled against. It is about having a box checked. It is about, I'm gonna tell you why they want a high value man. Y'all really want to know why they want a high value man? Y'all want to know? Put a smiley face in the chat if you want to know. Why they really want a high value man. Thank you, bro, man. Eric Deadman, thank you. Say, Kendra, you preaching today. Keep bringing that truth with fire. Thank you. Why they really want the high value man is because it increases their collective mobility over you. This is all part of the playbook. It increases being married to a high value man, upgrades their mobility automatically. It's an automatic upgrade. That's why. Has nothing to do with wanting to be a wife. It doesn't have anything to do with that man outside of the fact that it increases her mobility exponentially without her having to do the work. The divorce, yeah, she gets money out of that and she likes getting money out of that. No, don't, she likes getting money out of that. But after she divorces you, her mobility maintains itself. That's why she wants the money. That's why she wants the money. Because it maintains the mobility she acquired by marrying a high value man in the first place. Thank you, Ethos 13. Need y'all to understand. Connect the dots, please. We're almost done. The material conditions of most Black women would hardly lead them to upset both economic and sexual arrangements, that seem to represent some stability in their lives. Many Black women have a good understanding of both sexism and racism, but because of the everyday constriction of their lives, cannot risk struggling against them both. The reaction of Black men to feminism has been notoriously negative. They are, of course, even more threatened than Black women by the possibility that Black feminists might organize around our own needs. They realize that they might not only lose valuable and hardworking allies in their struggles, but that they might also be forced to change their habitually sexist ways of interacting with and oppressing Black women. Accusations that Black feminism divides the Black struggle are powerful deterrents to the growth of an autonomous Black women's movement, because it does divide. So they admit that feminism actually makes Black men lose their allies in the struggle. So they because they just said it. They realize they might not only lose valuable and hardworking allies in their struggle. So us being a Black feminist and organizing around Black feminism actually makes us antithetical to Black men. It makes us antagonistic. Okay, it actually makes us butt heads. They already understand that. They already know. Still, hundreds of women have been active at different times during the 3-year existence of our group, and every Black woman who came out of a strongly felt need for some level of possibility that did not previously exist in her life. When we first started meeting in early, you know what, I'm going to skip some of this because it gets into the history of the struggles that they went to. Nobody cares. I'm going to skip over and I'm going to jump to number 4, Black feminist issues and projects. During our time together, we have identified and worked on many issues of particular relevance to Black women. The inclusiveness of our politics makes us concerned with any situation that impedes upon the lives of women, third world and working people. We are, of course, particularly committed to working on those struggles in which race, sex, and class are simultaneous factors in oppression. We might, for example, become involved in workplace organizing at a factory that employs third world women, or picket a hospital that is cutting back on already inadequate health care to a third world community, or set up a R-word crisis center in a Black neighborhood. Organizing around welfare and daycare concerns might also be a focus. The work to be done and the countless issues that this work represents merely reflect the pervasiveness of our oppression. See how they want to work for welfare and stuff like that? And which political party always doles out the entitlement programs? Thank you, Eric the Best. Who they always voting for? The Democrats. Always. It's the reason for that. But they not in bed with palm color supremacy. Who knew? Issues and projects that collective members have actually worked on are sterilization abuse, abortion rights, battered women, R-word, and healthcare. We have also done many workshops and educationals on Black feminism on college campuses, at women's conferences, and most recently for high school women. See, they admit to going all the way down to a high school girl and indoctrinating her with this foolishness. One issue that is of major concern to us and that we have begun to publicly address is racism in the palm-colored women's movement. Now, why would you be concerned with that? Unless you want to be part of that movement. You like that movement. You want to be part of the group, but they don't let you be part of the group. As Black feminists, we are made constantly and painfully aware of how little effort palm-colored women have made to understand and combat their racism, which requires, among other things, they have a more than superficial comprehension of race, color, and Black history and culture. Eliminating racism in the palm-colored women's movement is by definition work for them to do, but we will continue to speak to and demand accountability on this issue. How you going to demand accountability? What you going to do if they don't do it? Because it's 2020 and they still ain't do it. It's in 2016, they voted for DJ. Feminists and all, right? So how you holding accountability for anybody? Who you think you are? Anyway, in the practice of our politics, we do not believe that the end always justifies the means. I can't tell. Many reactionary and destructive acts have been done in the name of achieving correct political goals. As feminists, we do not want to mess over people in the name of politics. That's all you do. That we just read a whole statement of how they was going to mess over the Black community. We believe in collective process and a non-hierarchical distribution of power within our own group and in our vision of a revolutionary society. So basically, they want a society where females rule, which is a gynocracy, because it is females who think like that. Again, they want an environment and a culture that is based upon their biology. See, they understand bioculturon, biology, culture, environment. They understand that. They just don't want it from a male perspective. They just want it from a female perspective, because only women operate like that in a group where there's no hierarchy. Women don't establish pecking orders like that. Men do that. Women don't really do that. Ladies, am I lying? When we get into a group, we don't necessarily establish pecking order that way, where this one is definitely the leader of us, and then the rest of us have to follow. We don't even really do that. We all kind of see ourselves sort of equal, sort of on par with each other. One can be challenged at any time. We don't really look to each other for that type of leadership. We don't really look to each other for that. We've never done it because we're women, and biologically we don't want to do that because it doesn't serve us. Another woman can't protect me. Another woman can't provide anything more for me than I can do for myself. So why would she be my leader? She's not better than me. So basically, you want a society that don't have no leader. We are committed to a continual examination of our politics as they develop through criticism and self-criticism as an essential aspect of our practice. In her introduction to Sisterhood is Powerful, Robin Morgan writes, I haven't the faintest notion what possible revolutionary role palm-colored heterosexual men could fulfill, since they are the very embodiment of reactionary vested interest power. As Black feminists and L words, we know that we have a very definite revolutionary task to perform, and we are ready for the lifetime of work and struggle before us. All right. They want a system that is a gynocracy. A gynocracy is the rule of women. The nature of women is chaotic. We are the absence of order. We are not the presentation of order. The feminine energy in and of itself is the absence of any structure or order. It doesn't make us bad. It just makes us women. It's just our nature. Without any structure around us, we'll just do what we want to do. And it's just freewheeling, and it doesn't really have any structure to it. You just kind of do what we want to do. And since our worldview is solipsistic, we're selfish by nature, we're chaotic by nature, we just sort of do whatever. And if it benefits us, we feel like it's good. If it's detrimental to us, it's bad. We're real simple like that. Right? Men and masculinity by nature is order. Men like order. They like putting things in order. They even put themselves in order. Men get together and produce a hierarchy, which is one reason why the so-called manosphere, I feel like it didn't do what it was supposed to do, because too many of the men decided that a hierarchy wasn't necessary and pecking orders weren't necessary, which is feminine. That's feminine energy. It's women who don't like pecking orders, because we don't like taking orders. I'm not taking order from no other chick, because I'll fight her. If it come down to it, I'll beat her up. She try to make me, you know what I'm saying? Like, she can't make me do nothing. These women want to be, quote unquote, equal to men, but there are men who are not equal to each other. All men are not equal. And we know that from just watching. There are men way at the top. Apex alphas. Way at the top. Could rule other men who would call themselves alpha. Can rule them. We call them masters of the universe. He know more, he can do more. He's more able, he's more capable. In many areas, he's just more capable. He's just more capable man. And other men look to him for that leadership because he's more capable. They may not like it, but they do it. A man gets together, a business or organization start coming together, one of them is going to emerge as the leader that the rest of the men respect. And then it's like, okay, because he might have more knowledge, resources, leadership quality, whatever. He's just that dude. Women don't operate that way. And when men encounter women, their first inclination, according to his level of masculinity, is to introduce order to her. He wants to introduce order to her. Thank you, Revelator and Mogul Maze, for the Cash Apps. When women get together in a group, we don't do all of that. She better not step to me like she on something. She better sit down. Now, she might think she the it girl, and maybe she is, but at any time, her position can be challenged. I've walked into rooms before, and there was an it girl, and I immediately challenged that position. We're not doing this because you don't run me. And I'm going to let you know through nonverbal communication that you don't run me. Women's battles like that are more subtle. We won't like fight physically, but it'll be a battle of wills, a battle of femininity, a battle of energy. It'll be, most of it will be nonverbal. Most of the time when men walk into a room and there's an established leader, unless he feel like he's really on the same level as that dude, he won't challenge it. So if you have a room full of men and one of them is a master of the universe, unless by chance another one of them type of guys walk into the room, they have to give each other kudos. Like, we have to meet each other as equals here. Thank you, Mr. Greasy. Them kind of men meet each other as equals. They just nod. Okay, all right. Like on Seinfeld, Varnson, Pennypacker, Varnson. Vandalay, Varnson, Pennypacker. See, they just meet each other, just, you know, pay my respect. Because I know another one when I see one. And when a man walk into a room of men and he know he ain't on that level, he go sit down. If you got any sense. But the thing that I really want to point out is the spirit of what I just read to you persists today. That is, and I'm going to go esoteric on y'all for a little minute before we wrap up, because I've been here about an hour and a half. Is that this thought pattern is an infestation, and it is the quintessence of demon time. Shout out to DS1. It is the quintessence of demon time. That was a demon letter I just read to you. The spirit of a demon. Because all of that division and chaos and confusion and going against the order of things, that's demonic. See, demonic stuff don't have to show up with a pitchfork and cloven hooves and all of that kind of stuff. That's movie stuff. Demonic stuff show up as things that might make sense. So if you think about it, you know, oh, it don't sound that bad. Maybe they got a point. That's how it show up. That's how demon time show up. That's demon time letter. That's a demon letter. That's a demon, and it's a pervade. See, I'm calling it demon time because it's a spirit that invades the mind and the heart. It is an infestation of a destructive thought pattern and what's destructive in the hearts. This is why it's so difficult to get it out. You're not going to be able to get it out without proper spiritual addressing of that. This is a spiritual war. This is not even so much a physical thing. This is a war of the spirit. This is a war for the mind and the heart. In Islam, when we talk about the shaitan and we talk about evil influences, one of shaitan's favorite things to do is to break the family. Because when you break the family, you break the human spirit. You break the ability of the human being to come together and to ascend spiritually. You break that ability. That's why he liked breaking the family so much. Causing divisions between people, causing divisions between men and women specifically so that they won't come together as families. This is demonic. This is a whole shaitani system. The system of course, palm color supremacy is obviously demonic, but its offshoots are equally so. The offshoots from a demonic system is demonic. Okay? The apple don't fall far from the tree here. So if we got a demon tree that's bearing fruit, demon fruit, then the fruit is demonic. And feminism and gynocentrism is a fruit from that tree. It's demonic as well. This is why I fight so hard and struggle so hard against it. Because it is an oppressive system. Every system that the shaitan has oppresses someone. And it's the job of the believer to lift oppressions, not be included within them. So we need to understand that it's not just, it's not harmless. It's just a thought. No. This is an infestation of a demonic destructive spirit that is there to challenge the divine order. And we know that it's there to challenge the divine order because it challenges the nature of men and women. It goes against it. All right. So that's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you, Mr. Edward High. Said this was a great live stream. Didn't even roll up. You ain't roll up yet. So while it lasts, we are still having a holiday sale on A-Game. So go into the description box, click the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com and get yourself a 20% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra20. All right. And that's all I got for you guys. Peace out. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.